Lady Macbeth sees the murder more clearly than Macbeth does. That is the point people blur, because it is easier to call her evil and move on.
Yes, early in the play, Macbeth wants the crown, but he keeps hiding from the plain fact that getting it means planned murder. Lady Macbeth does not hide from that fact at all.
So this is not just that she is harsher. It is that she understands the job better.
Exactly. Macbeth talks himself into circles. She strips the plan down to its real parts. Kill Duncan, frame the guards, take the gain, and carry the face to survive the aftermath.
People often remember Macbeth as the killer and Lady Macbeth as the voice in his ear. But at the start, he is the one flinching.
He is flinching from the act and from what it means. In his great hesitation speech, he lists reasons not to do it. Duncan is his king, his guest, a decent ruler, and murder will bring consequences. That is not courage. That is a man staring at the cost and hoping desire will somehow avoid payment.
And when he writes to Lady Macbeth about the witches, she gets the situation fast.
Fast and accurately. She reads the chance for power, but she also sees Macbeth's weakness. Not weakness in battle. He can fight. Weakness in decision. He wants the result without wanting to cross the line that gets him there.
That is an important distinction. He is not soft in general. He is soft at the precise point where ambition becomes crime.
Right. Lady Macbeth spots that instantly. When she says he is too full of the milk of human kindness, she is not saying he is nice in some broad moral sense.
And then Duncan arrives at their house. That matters, because now the crime stops being fantasy.
Yes, now it is practical. Duncan is under their roof. The chance is immediate. Lady Macbeth moves straight into logistics. Drug the grooms, use their daggers, leave the scene arranged so blame lands elsewhere. She thinks like someone who knows that a crime fails if the details fail.
While Macbeth is still saying, "We will proceed no further in this business."
Exactly. That line matters. He tries to stop, not because he has become moral in a strong sense, but because the risk has become real. He knows one murder could wreck everything. Lady Macbeth answers by attacking his wavering and forcing him to face the gap between what he wants and what he is willing to do.
This is where lazy readings turn her into a cartoon monster who simply bullies him.
And that misses the scene. She does pressure him, yes, but Macbeth is not her puppet. He already wants the crown. He has already imagined murder before she enters. What she does is give his drifting ambition a hard shape and a timetable.
So why does she seem stronger at first?
Because she is more divided from the act, she can treat it as a problem to solve. Macbeth has to do the killing with his own hands, and he feels the horror of that before he does it. Lady Macbeth can think in straight lines because at that stage, she is keeping conscience at a distance.
There is a brutal example right after the murder. Macbeth comes back shaken, carrying the daggers, unable to finish the scene.
And she has to take over. She returns the daggers, smears the sleeping grooms with blood, and tells him a little water clears them of the deed. It is one of the clearest moments in the play. She understands that after the murder, performance matters. If they look guilty, they are finished.
But that line about water is not wisdom. It is early confidence.
Exactly. She is clear about the mechanics of the crime, but she misjudges the endurance of guilt. Macbeth already knows the act cannot be washed off so neatly. He hears voices. He cannot say amen. He is cracking at once.
Then the balance shifts. Macbeth becomes colder in action, and Lady Macbeth starts losing control.
That shift is crucial. Once he has crossed the line, Macbeth stops hesitating in the same way. He arranges Banquo's murder without telling her. He moves from reluctant criminal to active tyrant. Lady Macbeth, who seemed firmer at the start, is no longer directing events.
So, her early strength has a limit. It works for one terrible decision, not for a whole regime of blood.
Yes, she can force herself through the first crime by treating it as necessary and manageable. But the crime does not stay contained. It spreads, it changes Macbeth, isolates her, and keeps returning in the mind. That is why she later breaks in the sleepwalking scene.
And that scene matters, because it destroys the cheap idea that she feels nothing.
Completely. She felt plenty. She just suppressed it while action was needed. Later, when there is no urgent plan to run and no role to perform, the buried knowledge comes back as repetition, stain, smell, and horror. Her mind keeps handling what she once thought her hands could manage.
So, if we read her properly, she is not a pure villain, and not a girl boss slogan either.
Right. She is the person who sees the nature of the crime most clearly at the start. She knows murder is not just desire. It is method, nerve, and concealment. That makes her more lucid than Macbeth early on. It does not make her invincible.
And that is why the play is harsher than the usual summary. The one who speaks most clearly about the crime is still destroyed by it.
Exactly. Lady Macbeth understands what must be done better than Macbeth at first. What she does not understand is the price of surviving it. Clarity can get the murder done. It cannot keep the blood out of the mind.